right, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, Fantasy Football Island. I got my cousin again, Ricky, here.
What's happening?
And special guest host, Johnny Ballgame.
What's up, everybody? Oh, there's my hand.
Ballgame.
Here, there. Next.
So Johnny Ballgame's been in my leagues for many years. I played in his leagues. We've been friends for a long time. And I can tell you one thing about Johnny Ballgame. If he gets a gut feeling about something and he goes out on the waiver wire and just picks up a guy and plays him, that guy's going to go off.
Yeah.
It happened last year. He picks up Hollywood Brown, week one. Throws him in his lineup. And he also had Lamar Jackson in his lineup as well because he drafted him. And I don't know how many points you got, but you obviously won the week and destroyed everyone, and you never looked back. So we're going to do a segment today about Johnny Ballgame's gut. We're going to call it Go With Your Gut. We're going to go over some topics and ask Johnny what he would do with his gut in this situation. Sound fun?
Johnny Ballgame's got a gut because he eats a lot of these beef sandwiches in his background.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a man-sized sandwich right there.
Nothing screams football like a good Italian beef sandwich. So
absolutely. All right, so let's talk a little draft strategy to get it going, Johnny. First of all, do you have any overall strategies that you use when you're going into the draft? Anything in particular?
Yeah, so obviously you've got to look at what kind of league you're in, right? So we're in a PPR league, which I think is the best kind of league. It's more exciting, it's fun, it's just, I don't know, just better. Let's just be honest with each other. So, you got to figure out what you're scoring. And so for us in our leagues that Chuck and I have been in and Ricky's been in a couple of times are like quarterbacks make their money if they're runners. And so in some leagues where it's PPR, you'll see quarterbacks drafted much later. For us, if you get a quarterback that's a runner, that's gold, and you got to get them as early as you can. So, the Mahomes and the Lamars and those guys. I drafted Lamar in the third or fourth round last year as my second quarterback. I actually drafted Dak first, but I just had a feeling he was going to run and just do some special things. And
you had a gut feeling?
Yeah, I had a gut feeling, for instance. So that's typically what I do. And then I look at how deep other positions are. So I actually think quarterback's pretty deep this year. I think there's probably 5 or 6 running quarterbacks that can get you some money. So then the question is, who's next? Like, for me, running backs are gold because there's just not that many full-time running backs that also catch passes and that run for a crap ton of yards. So that to me is like, I usually target that first. If I can get a really great RB1, that's usually who I target first. And I know a lot of people say, well, do that. That's not, that smart. But some people will go for that quarterback early. I'll go for a star running back and not have to platoon like they do later on. So that's kind of my draft strategies. I usually try to get that RB1. I'll wait a little bit on receivers because I think receivers are the deepest position.
Absolutely, and you can find receivers on waiver wire.
Like Hollywood Brown last year, for week 1. So you can find them on waiver wire. Yeah, I mean, you get a Michael Thomas or a Julio Jones; those guys are special, and maybe you take an early flyer in the second round or late in the first round, even if some of those big top point getters aren't there anymore, and you've got a pretty deep league, you might go a receiver like a Michael Johnson or Michael Thomas rather.
Thomas, yeah, especially last year. Like Michael Thomas set an NFL record in receptions.
It's insane.
Scored a ton of points. We get bonuses for more than 10 catches, so he was doing that on a regular basis.
He was getting that bonus every time.
He averaged, I believe, 10 catches or more. So that's incredible.
Yeah, you get a stud like that, and it might be worth not taking a running back. Like if you're at 8 or 9, I don't know that you're going to get a running back that's going to be better than that receiver. Michael Thomas.
I agree.
Yeah. So I think that's where you go. There's some special running backs, the Christian McCaffreys, the Alvin Kamara's, the Zeke, Saquon even. Although, we were talking before this, I'm not as high on Saquon, and we'll talk about that. But I just think if you don't get one of those 4 and you don't get Lamar or Mahomes, maybe it's Thomas next right after that group. So that's like 6, 7 people down. If you're number 8, I think I take a flyer on Thomas.
That's about the sweet spot. I've done the same thing in my mock drafts. If he falls, I'm in a different league where I'm drafting, I believe, 7th. And if Michael Thomas falls to me at 7 and, Mahomes and Jackson are gone, then I'm going to grab Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't, yeah.
Let me throw some scenarios at you, and you just go with your gut and tell me what you would do. So In our league that we're playing in together, John, you're the fourth pick, I believe.
Right.
I'm drafting second. So usually what you and I do in these drafts, and especially when we're drafting close together, is we steal each other's players because we think a lot alike. But let's go down the board here. Let's say Patrick Mahomes goes off the board first, which I'm thinking he will because our league, he's gold. And I'm second. So I'm taking Christian McCaffrey most likely. And let's say the guy in third slot, he takes Lamar Jackson. So now it's up to you, Johnny Ballgame. And you could take Saquon Barkley or somebody else. What does your gut tell you?
I'm going Alvin Kamara every day of the week. I think he's going to have a monster year, and I'm not sold on Saquon. And I know that's blasphemy to some people. Like, what are you talking about, Saquon? I think Kamara's going to kill him this year. I think, first of all, Kamara's mad. He's going to run angry. He's going to catch about 1 million balls from Breeze, who's starting to get older, and he's going to check down a bunch. So I think in a PPR league, there's just no reason to not take Kamara. Saquon's playing in a new offense with a new head coach who was a college guy last year, with a quarterback who's in his second year, who, let's face it, wasn't a barn burner last year. He was pretty good as a rookie, but he wasn't somebody who's great. But more importantly, their line sucked. And I don't think that they did enough to address that in the draft. And I think he is being way overdrafted. Now, if I was at 8 or 9 and Saquon fell to me, I'd throw a celebration. But at 4, I'm not taking him now. I'm taking Kamara every day.
And that's totally against the grain. I doubt many leagues that Saquon would fall to 4. But I'm telling you guys right now, if Johnny Ballgame isn't taking 4 and he's taking Kamara instead, you might want to think about that. What do you think, Ricky? Is he crazy?
No, not at all. It's not all about, the most talented player. It's about the best situation. We talked about that in the previous video.
Yep.
And Saquon Barkley is an amazing talent, but like he said, he gave all the reasons why he may not have a good year, and Kamara is perfectly set up. I don't think that's crazy at all.
And Kamara has like a long track record of success, other than last year when he was hurt, and he still did well. He's top 10 running back.
Yeah, he still did pretty good, still even hurt,
He's always catching 80, 90 balls, scoring 10 touchdowns. He's getting a lot of rushing yards. So, I mean, it's not crazy to think you take him over Saquon Barkley. Barkley's really only had one good year, his rookie year. Last year he was banged up. He wasn't that good till the end.
The other thing, too, is there's no outside to take the pressure off of Barkley. The receiver core is not awesome for the Giants. There's other people there that can take some of that pressure off. You can't just load the box on Kamara because you've got a little fella named Michael Thomas on the outside who's going to go catch 100 balls. So that takes some of that pressure off. I just think he's going to have a better year.
Also, another thing is he's always fresh when he's in the game because he's got that secondary running back to come in and take the pressure off him as well. Whereas the Giants just rely on Saquon Barkley all the time. He wears down. I mean, let's face it, at the end of the game, he's probably touched the ball 20, 25 times without a rest.
I think more. I think he's up at 30, right? I mean, he's a workhorse. They just don't have anybody else to do. So they'll dink and dunk it to him. They'll try to get it to him, some outside tosses and things like that. It's just they can't block. They have no receivers on the outside. Jones is okay. There's just no reason for me to believe that he's going to have an awesome year.
All right. Now, in our league, also defenses score a little bit more than normal. We reward for all kinds of different things. So defenses are a little more valuable. You still probably want to wait a while to get a defense, but this is where you come in. Ricky's really good with the analytical side of drafting. What's a good round to draft in a 12-team league, a defense? What do you think?
Well, are you saying that in this league, the scoring system?
Our particular scoring system where they score pretty high.
Well, that's tough. Like we always talk about value. You want to look at how the top defense or whichever defense you're targeting is going to do versus the rest of the field.
Right.
And how, rare it's going to be to get a defense like that. You might want to get a sleeper. If there's some good sleeper receivers or running backs, and there's still a bunch of good defenses left. So it all depends. But I would say if you expect a defense to do a lot of scoring, I wouldn't be surprised anywhere after the 5th round if people start popping defenses.
That's normally where defenses start to go, like 5th, 6th round. For me, I like to wait on defenses. I'll get 2 or 3 defenses later in the draft. What about you, JB, Johnny Ballgame?
Yeah, so if I can't get an elite defense, and I think Ricky's right on. I think 6th round, like right toward that middle of the 5th round, beginning of the 6th round. If you're really high on a defense and you think they're going to score and you get a distinct advantage on other teams by drafting a defense there, I think you take them. So, you know, you get a San Francisco, Buffalo, Baltimore. Those guys are going to always have great defenses. Frisco's going to be ridiculous this year, I think, on defense.
Is that that's your number one?
That's my number one for sure. Yeah, and I don't even think it's close.
What do you think about Pittsburgh?
I like them. I think they're probably 2. I go with Baltimore 3, and then I don't think New England can do what they did last year, right? They relied a lot on touchdowns and turnovers as opposed to, you know, just really strong defense. So I think probably Buffalo is my 4th.
Yeah, New England last year was super lucky.
It was lucky.
Their schedule was ridiculously easy. They played so many weak teams, and they feasted on them. I mean, they were at a historic pace. In our leagues, halfway through the season, the number 1 scoring player in our league was the New England defense.
I know.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and we are in a crazy scoring league, so it's not like we, you know, had just touchdown only leagues. They were just nuts. They just went off.
And then they slowed way down in the second half. As a matter of fact,
you can't sustain it.
Right, exactly. And there was much better defenses in the second half of the season than the New England Patriots. So if you're thinking that you're going to go into the draft this year and get New England, and we've talked about this before, that's why you don't rely on strength of schedule ultimately to make your decision. That's last year. And even for the Patriots, that's the last, first half of last year. If you look at the second half, they weren't really that good. So it's really difficult to find.
My sleeper defense, and I think they'd be better if the offense wasn't so good, is Kansas City.
Absolutely.
They've got such good players at every position, but because they score so much, people are always throwing and trying to catch up to them, and sometimes that results in turnovers, but sometimes it results in a little bit of high score against them. So
so they can pin their ears back when they get big leads and start trying to go for sacks and turnovers. And that can happen, but they're still going to be on the field a lot defensively because Mahomes scores so quick.
I know.
That guy's amazing. So
the law of averages say the offense on the field more often, they're going to score on a defense even if they're that good. So I love them. They're probably in my top 10, but they would be higher if they didn't have such a great offense. And I know that sounds stupid, but
I totally agree with you, actually. So I was dying to ask you this question. On our last podcast, Ricky and I were debating about combos, having the quarterback and running back or the quarterback and receiver on the same team. I love it, especially if you pick the right combo. That was the
You do love it. That's always been your thing,
If you ever get a
that way he doesn't have to change the channel. Sorry.
When you're watching football, you got 2 guys on the same team, you're not going to turn the channel. But if you got Mahomes and say Tyke Hill fell to you somehow, I mean,
ridiculous.
Why wouldn't you want that combo?
No, I'm a quarterback receiver combo. I'm not as much a quarterback running back combo, but I'm definitely a quarterback receiver combo guy.
All right, so who's your combo that you realistically think you could get this year?
Well, because of where I draft, I'm drafting 4. Right. I mean, if I wanted to take a shot at Thomas, I could get a Thomas Breeze combo. I just don't know if I want to do that, right? I mean, you go Thomas and you could go Breeze 3 rounds later, probably, or 2 rounds later. But
you know what I was thinking? The Bucks. You could get Brady later, and you can get one of those 2 guys, Godwin or Evans, in probably the second round.
In the second round, yeah. So that's pretty good. I don't know if I believe Brady's going to have an awesome year.
I agree with you. I think he's being a little bit overrated. We don't know if his arm strength's going to be there. He's 42 or 43 years old.
Yeah, and he wasn't great last year, right? I mean,
he was awful last year.
Comfortable in that system. So
Look, if Tom Brady doesn't have time to throw the ball, he's really not that good. He doesn't have the ability to get out of the pocket, and he'll throw the ball away, period.
Right.
He feels pressure. So it's all really up to the Bucs offensive line.
It is. And they talk about the receivers are going to have a huge year, and I'm like, I mean, but are they? You got 2 mouths to feed there, at least, and then you've got all the tight ends. They've got 5 tight ends, including Gronk, who I don't think is going to be awesome either. I don't know, man. I'm staying away from the Bucs offense. I actually like Ronald Jones better than anybody on the Bucs offense right now.
I feel like he's being way undervalued. A lot of people.
He's such a sleeper. Yes, he's a sleeper. Arians said 3 times this year already, that guy's going to be our workhorse.
And he usually tells the truth.
He's not lying. Yeah. So, I mean, I love Evans. And I think as Godwin came into his own last year. But I just don't know with him throwing it to. Jameis, whatever you call him, Jameis Winston is. You say what you want to about him. He threw a shit ton of yards, and he threw the ball a lot. And I just don't think Brady's going to throw that much.
That's the difference right there. Jameis Winston threw the ball a lot because he turned the ball over a lot and put them in precarious situations where they had to
right
behind. Tom Brady's not going to do that, and they'll probably get some leads and kind of run the ball more a little bit, take a little air out of the ball, and that's where your boy Ronald Jones comes in. So,
one thing I would maybe consider, because I think I could get Dak in the second round and Amari maybe in the third round.
That's a good one.
That's a nice combo right there, and I like Dak. I like Dak this year. I think he's going to be really good. So, and I had him, and I usually don't do a quarterback 2 years in a row. Because it never works out for me. Anytime I've had them and they were awesome one year, they're never awesome the next year. So I typically don't do that. But I would consider that combo.
And getting back to the combo, I'm glad you brought up that point about how, quarterback wide receiver combos are a lot different than quarterback running back combos, because a lot of times, the running game and the passing game isn't going to go off in the same game. They could. So it's a lot different. I'm glad you brought up that point. It is possible that having a quarterback running back combo could make your team more consistent. If it's a great offense, usually one or the other is going to have at least a decent game.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
That's a good
point. And it's possible too if you have a running back who catches a crap ton of passes, right? Mm-hmm. So if you've got a Alvin Kamara, for instance, that combo with Breeze is actually a pretty good combo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, even Teddy Bridgewater, if you had him as like a backup quarterback with Christian McCaffrey, that's not a bad combo.
It's not a bad combo.
It's not
Chuck's wheels are turning.
But I'm like, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, that's a good combo for a quarterback league, right? As your second quarterback. But anyway, I'm going to give you 2 players that might be similar in ADP, and you're going to go with your gut and tell me who you like better. How's that sound?
Love it. Sounds like awesome.
You're going to do this as well, Rick, so be ready. All right. Let's say say you're drafting late in the first round and you have to make this decision. You got Dalvin Cook and Miles Sanders. What's your gut?
Ooh, well, Miles Sanders got hurt a little bit today. But even if he hadn't, Dalvin Cook's
You're not worried about Dalvin Cook's persistent shoulder injuries that he's had?
No, I think he's had a nice, long, restful offseason. They didn't do camps. They didn't do anything. So if ever there was a year to heal up, it was this year, and I think he's going to be a monster.
Okay. All right, I got another one for you. At the wide receiver position, Kenny Golladay falls to you in the 3rd round, but Amari Cooper is also there. Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason, or you just have a feeling?
No, that's a Johnny Ballgame gut feel right there, because I think both of them.
Write this down.
And I've had both of them. I just think Cooper's going to have a little bit better year, and I think the Lions are going to struggle again, mostly because I think Patricia wants to run. Like that guy, every year he's like, I want to run. And last year he saw that when his quarterback went down and they couldn't run, they sucked. And so I think, Stafford's a great quarterback. And he was on pace, actually, to be an MVP last year. If you really look at his first 8 weeks, that guy was phenomenal. But they have no running game, and he wants to establish the run, so I think he's going to do everything he possibly can to establish the run. And there's nobody on the other side of him, whereas Cooper now, they've got CeeDee Lamb, they've got a couple of other guys on that team.
He can't be double-teamed anymore.
Yeah, you got Ezekiel Elliott. There's a lot of mouths to feed, which means Cooper's going to be single-covered half the time, and he's just good. He's just really good.
He really is good. It's too bad he had a crappy quarterback over in Oakland. Carr would just disappear in games because Carr wasn't throwing the ball.
Yeah.
But all right, I got one for you, Ricky. We're going old school at wide receiver. A couple of old farts, which actually they're not both old. One is old and one is trying to recover from a bad season last year. So if you had to tell me who was going to have the better comeback year between Odell Beckham Jr. and AJ Green, which one would you choose? better comeback year. We're not saying who's going to have more points because I think Beckham's going to do that, but maybe not. But which one would you think would have a better comeback year?
Well, how about this? I'm going to be honest. I think you boys are way ahead of me in research this year. And I probably couldn't, explain that as well as you guys. So
all right.
Why don't you tell us?
Chuck, who do you think?
Okay. So I have this weird feeling that Joe Burrow is going to be a little bit better than people think. I don't necessarily want to draft him, but I do think he's going to throw the ball a lot to A.J. Green. The whole key is his health. He's already, I think, pulled a hammy, which doesn't surprise me. He's like 32 years old. If he stays healthy, though, I actually like his situation better than Odell Beckham's. I'm not high on Baker Mayfield, and perhaps that's because he screwed me last year. But I just don't think he's that good. And the offense, I think the offense is going to be more run heavy this year. They have two ridiculous backs,
studs. I can't agree more.
And they're probably going to temper Baker Mayfield from throwing too many picks and stuff like that. And they're going to probably keep it low key and run a little bit more. What do you think, Johnny?
I agree with you. I think they are going to try and temper Baker a little bit. I actually think that's where they'll go into problems, because I think Baker's probably better when they just let him improvise and get out of the pocket and do some of those things. And in which case Odell could be a really valuable asset. He's just declined every year for the last 3 years, and I'm just not that high on him personally. If you're right, if AJ can stay healthy, which is a giant if, I mean, let's just be honest. That's like saying if unicorns actually exist. But if he can stay healthy, then I think he has a better situation. He's a clear number one with a quarterback who's going to have to throw a lot, with a good running back behind him. I mean, granted, Cleveland's got a good running back too, but Cleveland's going to use their running backs, whereas I'm not sure Cincinnati necessarily will, make him a workhorse. So I think AJ, in that case, I'd pick him.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of old guys, Rob Gronkowski, he's re-signed with his buddy Brady out in Tampa. You've already said you're not real high on him, but let's say you had to make a decision between Eric Ebron in Pittsburgh and Rob Gronkowski.
Do I have to choose between either of these two?
Yeah, let's say you waited too long to get a tight end, and these are your options. Who are you going with?
Or maybe it's a backup.
Maybe it's a backup.
Yeah, maybe it's a backup. I think I'd go with Ebron in Pittsburgh. I don't think their receiver core is that great. There's too many mouths to feed in Tampa with an aging quarterback. Now, granted, Ebron's being thrown by Roethlisberger, but even if Roethlisberger gets hurt again, they've got a couple of quarterbacks who like to throw the tight ends and check down. So in that case, I'd go with Ebron, and not overwhelmingly confidently, but I would go with Ebron just because I don't think Gronk's going to come back that strong.
I actually think Gronk's going to be a niche player. I think he's going to come in when they get down in the red zone and probably get some touchdowns. I'm going to guess 10 touchdowns, maybe even more. But he's not going to be on the field a lot. They have O.J. Howard. They have Cameron Brate. Those guys are going to do the work down the fields between the 20s, and then Gronk will come in. So I don't know how much room there is for Gronk to do much point-wise in fantasy. So
I'm telling you, so many mouths down there to feed, man.
Exactly.
I think they'll get rid of one of those tight ends by the time the season rolls around, because I think they're going to want to give Gronk a little bit of a shot. But, I mean, who do you get rid of between O.J. Howard and Brate? Because both of them are young, talented guys that they're just expecting every year to break out. Now, neither of them do. So the way I feel about Gronkowski is the way I feel about Tampa tight ends every year, which is I'm going to get a couple of touchdowns and I'm going to be teased a lot, but I'm never going to get the production that I really think I should get out of that position.
I agree. All right. Some rapid fire. Go with your guts.
Okay.
Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers. A couple of old
Rodgers.
Oh, he already says Rodgers. You got a quick reason why? You just like the offense better?
I like the offense better. Not that I'm not high on Rodgers. I'm just higher on him than I am on Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger really is getting long in the tooth, and that injury last year.
Coming off that major arm surgery too.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm curious. Aaron Rodgers, where do you have him ranked? Like as quarterback, what?
12.
12. I have him further down actually. I have not much further, but I have him 13th. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, he wasn't that great last year. He doesn't have that. They didn't do much to help him.
Right.
I think the running back they drafted is going to be pretty good, but I just don't see it.
All right, here's another quick one. Jared Goff or Ryan Tannehill?
Oh, this is a tough one. I like Tanny. I was a big fan of him coming over. So I live in Tennessee, as you know, so I have a little bit of an inside track. And I was a giant fan of that pickup last year. And I said at the beginning of the year, he'll be the starter in a couple of weeks. And he ended up being the starter really quick. I thought they gave him a raw deal in Miami. They blamed a lot on him when they just didn't surround him with anything. He's got a great arm. He's cool under pressure. I think I like Tanny.
I'm right there with you on that one. I'm not a fan of Jared Goff. When they drafted him, I wasn't a fan. Even when he had his monster year, I felt like it was more a product of the system. I'm not a big fan. I don't think
I'm with you.
Going as much this year. So
Completely.
that's how I feel about that one.
Yep.
All right, so there was a couple of rookies last year that kind of exploded on the scene at wide receiver. And I wanted to get your take on your gut feeling on this one, Johnny Ballgame.
All right.
First one is your boy in Tennessee, A.J. Brown. And the other guys in Seattle is DK Metcalf. A couple of monster receivers, big guys. What's your gut tell you? Who would you draft right now and why?
Metcalf. He's just a better all-around receiver. I think Brown's great. He can sprint. He's fast. He's that downfield guy. But Metcalf can do more. I think he's your inside guy. He's going to get you the tough yards. He's going to catch touchdowns. He's going to catch a ton of touchdowns. And I think he really started to earn the trust last year of the quarterback there. So I'm going to go DK.
I tend to agree with you, although I'm really high on A.J. Brown this year.
I love that guy. I don't think I don't. Yeah.
I feel like he's in a better situation because of Henry. Like, he's such a threat that they have to stack the line, and then that leaves him one-on-one, right? And then Tannehill loves to hit him deep. He's so big. He's big. He is
big. He's big and fast.
And he's fast, yeah. So I just like what he's got more than Seattle. And it's not because I don't like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's going to throw the ball to DK Metcalf, but he's also got Tyler Lockett, and their running game's not as good. So I think I would choose A.J. Brown.
Yeah, but so using that same logic, though, the Tennessee Titans will get the ball to Henry, right? They're going to concentrate on getting that ball to him because he's just a stud running back. Whereas there's really nobody to get the ball to now in Seattle. So they're going to throw. They're not going to run very much. The running backs are just average. It's Carson, and I can't remember who else is there. So they're average, right? So, but if you think about what they're going to do, I don't think Lockett is near as good as Metcalf. And if you look at the second half of the year last year, Metcalf really came on, and Lockett kind of started to tail off.
Yeah.
And Brown, they started to kind of figure him out towards the end of the year because they're like, oh, they're going to fake it to Henry and they're going to go throw a bomb to Brown. And so he didn't score as much towards the end of the year because I think they started to figure him out a little bit. So that's why I'm going with Metcalf, but only by a little bit. And if Brown's there in like round 5, I'm probably taking him. Yeah.
I think we were thinking along the same lines as you. I got one. This one's really.
I'm not surprised, Chuck, that you and I are thinking along the same.
This one's going to be really painful because I like both these quarterbacks a lot, and they both are your typical run and throw kind of quarterbacks. And you already know who I'm going to say. You got to pick one: Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson.
Mahomes.
Is it just for this year?
And that's from a guy who won the league with Lamar last year. So I think Lamar's going to slow down on running. I think defenses are going to figure him out in year 2. Nobody knew what to expect from him coming out. Now, granted, he's just special. I mean, he just is. But Mahomes followed an MVP year with a slow start and almost caught him point-wise at the end of the year. If you look at what Mahomes did from weeks 8 through the end of the year, he was probably the best quarterback in the league, right? But he had a little bit of a slow start. They kind of had figured him out a little bit too. And then Mahomes just adapted his game. And he's like, all right, you want to stop me from running? I'll just dime you all day. And so I like Mahomes just slightly better. Both are going to be phenomenal, probably 1 and 2, if not 1 and 3. But I just like Mahomes just a little bit better this year.
I'm a Mahomes guy, always have been.
Oh, you love him.
It's not just how good he is and the fact that he's a nice guy. I'm not saying Lamar Jackson's not, but he's just loaded with weapons. I mean, everywhere you look, there's a speed guy on this side, a speed guy on that guy, and you got good running backs coming out of the backfield, and Travis Kelce across the middle. Like, how do you not pick that guy? Plus, he can run the ball. And Andy Reid loves to throw.
His running's underrated, frankly. I don't think people think of him as a running quarterback as much as they should. That's awesome.
Well, Lamar Jackson's the more jukey guy, like the Madden move.
But he's so smooth.
Patrick Mahomes is, I think, the smarter runner. Like, he only runs when he has to, whereas Lamar Jackson might just take off a run because he sees an opening and he's going to do his thing. So
right. I think Lamar will do that less.
Also, I think Patrick Mahomes is like, he just makes these incredible throws on a consistent basis that like almost no other quarterback can do. He just has the potential, like every single play, to really make something amazing happen.
I completely agree. Yeah. It's like when the ball's in his hand, you go, well, something special is going to happen, right? Because it's Patrick Mahomes. You're just ready.
Make a no-look pass or something.
Or a left-handed flick. I mean, the guy's
insane.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so I got another one for you at running back. This is the Cleveland backfield. A lot of people just were thinking Nick Chubb in the first round, but now they're having their doubts. I've been hearing good things about Kareem Hunt. I love Kareem Hunt. I'm a huge fan.
You were a giant Kareem Hunt fan when he was on Kansas
He's the better talent, in my opinion. Now, I think you'd probably take Nick Chubb ahead of him in the draft. I'm not going to do that. What do you think?
You know, the interesting thing is I actually think when they took Kareem Hunt and they picked him up, I thought it was sort of a mark against Chubb and what they thought about his long-term capabilities and his ability to catch out of the backfield. And with Kareem Hunt, they picked up a guy who can do everything. And so I think Chubb will get more carries, but I think Hunt will get more catches and end up being a better point scorer. I don't want either of them because they're going to vulture from each other. So I definitely don't want either. But I think Hunt will end up edging just a slight bit at the end of the year.
I agree with you on your philosophy on those two, but Nick Chubb, for the price in the draft, you got to get him in probably end of the first, beginning of the second. No thanks.
I agree. He's too high. Yeah.
But on the other hand, Kareem Hunt, you can get much, much later. That kind of sounds good to me because if something were to happen to Chubb and he's already in concussion protocol, now you have a probably top 2-3 running back in Kareem Hunt. And you got him like the 6th round or later.
Yeah, if he's your RB3,
yes,
4 starting out the year, that's a steal, and I would take that absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't put him as one of my 1 or 2. But you're right. You know, Chubb gets a tweaks an ankle, and you're right. Hunt's your starter, plug and play starter every week after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you used to be a Bears fan, am I right?
Still am. Yeah.
Okay. Would you take Mitchell Trubisky or Nick Foles?
I think Foles wins that job. Foles is going to win the job. He's going to pull off another miracle year, and then next year he's going to suck because that's what Foles does.
That sounds like Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, well, he comes in as the underrated guy, the backup who wasn't supposed to start, takes the job either through injury or just out dueling somebody in camp, has a freaking tremendous year, then we'll get a giant contract someplace to play and just shut down his leg. So that's pretty much the standard formula for Nick Foles.
And neither one are draftable, am I right?
No. You might pick him up later in the, once you figure out who the starter is going to be, you may pick up Foles. I wouldn't pick up Trubisky if he was, if he fell down.
Are any of the weapons in Chicago even worth drafting at?
Yeah. Tariq Cohen's still good, and I think he's going to have a better year. So he's a good RB3, maybe 4. Let me tell you who's underrated. Allen Robinson, the wide receiver there, and their wide receiver 1. You look at his numbers last year, I think he was still top 12, top 15 at least.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah, and he had Trubisky, who was a replacement player quarterback basically last year. So if you can do that, and then you get a Foles who catches fire, I think Allen Robinson's a guy that's a sleeper who I would take in the 5th or 6th round and feel pretty good about. Maybe 7th round, you could probably get him, and I'd feel pretty good about that.
All right. So One guy at running back is a guy that came on late last year in Kenyon Drake out in Arizona. A lot of people are high on him, picking him in the first round. But there's another guy that's being picked in the first round that nobody knows much of anything about. They're just assuming because the Chiefs, Damian Williams, decided to opt out that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to just come in and be a hammer, and now they're taking him in the first round. If you had to pick one of those two, would you take Drake or would you take Edwards-Helaire?
I'd take Drake. I don't know that I know enough about Edwards-Helaire. He's a small guy.
Yeah.
But he's a little fella, and so I don't know if he's going to end up being an every down back, or he's going to kind of be like, what's that other receiver on Kansas City that they use kind of in situational stuff, the real fast guy?
Cole Hardman?
Yeah. I kind of feel like he's in that same vein where he's not going to be used all the time, but they're going to use him in special packages. I don't even know that he'll end up being the starting running back there. If he is, he's worth a look, but I think Drake is going to be a monster. You look at what he did when he came onto the scene there. I have a really nice feeling about Drake, and I was not high on that guy coming out of Miami because I thought.
Write that down.
Yeah, I thought Drake was kind of lazy coming out of Miami. There was not like great reports about him, but man, all reports out of Arizona is he's bought in, loves the coaching staff, loves this system, and they love him. And I think you get that combination. And I think Kyler Murray's going to be much improved. So you're going to have to watch him on running, because he's that mobile guy, and he's a candidate for me. I mean, look, 2 second-year quarterbacks have been the MVP the last 2 years. So you got to look at Kyler as a possibility because he came on so strong in year one.
That segues perfectly into my next go with your gut.
Okay.
I was going to ask you if you had to choose between Deshaun Watson, another running quarterback, and Kyler Murray, who would you pick?
Murray.
Murray, huh?
I do not believe in Deshaun Watson this year. I think they have done that dude a disservice by getting rid of his best receiver. Who isn't he now on Arizona? Isn't that who he went? Oh no, where'd he go? Yeah, Arizona, right? So Kyler's throwing to Deshaun's favorite guy. So now you've given Kyler a really great receiver. You've given him a great running back. Their line's much improved.
Don't forget about Christian Kirk too. I really like that.
Yeah, he's a great number 2 receiver.
Yeah.
And who do you have on Houston? Who's left?
Brandon Cooks, and then they also have Will Fuller, who gets hurt every year.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, you're right. He just doesn't have the weapons, and it's unfortunate because he's a really good quarterback.
He is, but Houston will end up the last in that league. Their defense isn't what it used to be, and that's my pick for last place in their division. I think Indianapolis actually wins that division this year, even though I'm a Tennessee fan now just by proxy because I live there. But I think Indianapolis wins that division.
I might be the only guy that doesn't have Deshaun Watson in my top 10.
I don't either.
Oh, wow.
No, so you're not the only guy.
I know we think alike, but I really didn't think you thought the same as me on Deshaun.
I'm so far down on that guy this year. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't that high on him last year because I didn't think they gave him any weapons to help. He's got the one good receiver, and Kenny Stills is okay. They kind of brought in an also-ran there, and they brought in Brandon Cooks to replace what's his face, and that's no replacement. Brandon Cooks wasn't having a great year last year anyway, so
right, he's no Hopkins.
He's no Hopkins, yeah.
All right, switching gears. You've been a commissioner for many years. I've been a commissioner for many years. I want to talk a little bit about that for new commissioners out there that might be starting up their own leagues. What are some of the things that used to drive you nuts as a commissioner?
People not putting in their lineups. I mean, come on, put your lineup in. When you get in some leagues, after you get past weeks 10, you're out of it. It's like you just kind of lose, people start to lose their luster for it. I like our league because we do after you get to about that time, we do a weekly. If you may be out of it for total points or record, depending on what your league is. But in our league, once you get to week 10 and on, you win that week, you're getting a cash bonus. We try to keep people in it that way because I hate the people who just kind of peter out at the end of the year because they're not in it anymore and they don't care, so they don't put their team in and then you're like, come on, man, let's keep the league competitive. So that's my.
I was playing in a work league and it was a head-to-head, and we had a huge problem with people not putting in their lineups, and it destroyed the whole league. Like we basically had to disband the league because of that.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily for our league, all all the leagues that we've played in, John, we usually have some great owners. They don't really do that. They pretty much fight to the end. You'll have that one outlier.
Yeah, the occasional. Yeah.
But those are the guys that don't return, and you just replace them with someone else that you know is more, reliable.
Yeah.
So as a commissioner, what you want to do is you try your best to get 10 or 12 owners that you can trust, they're reliable. But one of the things that drives me nuts is when guys don't pay their fees. It's like, just drop that money, get it over with.
Put it in.
For it,
Yeah.
I've had guys that they still haven't paid me from 20 years ago.
Good Lord.
All right, so a lot of people play in head-to-head leagues. I would say that most leagues are head-to-head leagues. It's all based on wins and losses, whereas our leagues are the exact opposite. It's mostly total points.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the mark of a true champion. Whoever has the most points has the best team. I think there's a little bit too much randomness in head-to-head. What do you prefer, Johnny Ballgame, and why?
Yeah, I'm in 2 points leagues, and I'm in one work that's kind of a head-to-head league, but it's also points. Those are okay as long as there's the points thing. I agree with you, though. I think there's randomness to the head-to-head. Like, I could have an amazing score and be playing somebody who just happened to have a more amazing score, so I'm going to lose that week, and then somebody who had a crap score is going to beat somebody else who had a crap score, so they're going to get a win. And it's like, is that really and I realize that's how football is in some cases, but if you don't have to be like that, then why be like that? So
my point is, look, we can't defend how many points you score. We're not like playing defense here. So
exactly.
It's not really a true head-to-head, in my opinion. We're not playing one-on-one.
Right.
So another thing that pisses me off is a lot of times the highest scoring team won't even make the playoffs just because they had bad luck.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
In the first round, they'll play some team that picks up a bunch of waiver wires, throws them out there, and they get super lucky, and you're out. And you don't win shit. I don't think.
My one head-to-head league last year was like that. I was 4th in points. I didn't make the playoffs because I got unlucky and had some bad losses.
Right. Exactly.
I've had a year where I destroyed everyone total points, and I lost in the last game of the season to one of the lesser teams that just got hot at the end. So I don't like it. I find though that I don't want to like stereotype or whatever, but I find that for people that work really hard and do a lot of research, you might want the total points. But if you are more of a casual person, you kind of like that element of randomness. That way, you can just do your thing and you might end up winning. It's not a big deal to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not so much pressure on it. I agree with that. I see that.
Yeah, so for all the new commissioners out there, the best way to do it to appease both is to do a hybrid where you pay out for both points and head-to-head. We do that still just to appease the few people that do like the head-to-head, but really the 75% of the pot is going to the total points. Head-to-head's only getting a small piece, so I like that best. If I had my way, I would just pay out all total points. But you gotta look out for the best interests of the league for all your owners. So
you got to look at the ownership and who's in there and what's going on, and try to make it as much fun and as much competition and keep everybody engaged throughout the whole year. So if that helps, then you throw it in there as a little gimme or pick me up.
One other thing I wanted to add is a lot of leagues are deciding now to just not have kickers because they're so damn random. Do you like having a kicker, Johnny?
No, I don't. I think it's a wasted space of somebody else that I can use, right? So especially with the way people get injured so much now, you need that extra space for an extra wide receiver or running back, just because every week there's nobody that gets through a whole year without one of their stars being injured for at least a week or two. It just doesn't happen. And so if you've got a space being taken up by a kicker who may get you 2 points that week because they kicked 2 extra points, I'd rather not. I'd rather have a backup guy on my bench waiting just in case I need him. So, yeah, I'm not a kicker guy. I love the trend towards no kickers.
So a lot of hardcore players like us that really do their homework don't want kickers, whereas the casual fan enjoy having the kickers. But to me, it's an advantage to me or you who are good at fantasy football when we do have the kickers in the league, because then you have those idiots that want to take kickers 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And then you're picking up all the scraps, the good running backs and receivers that are left. Thank you very much.
Yeah, last pick's always a kicker. Always.
Thank you. We just said that last week.
You play in a league and you have a kicker and you pick a kicker before the last round, you should immediately just give them your money and quit the league and just move on with your life.
Exactly.
That's how I feel. Maybe it's a little strong, but that's just how I feel.
I totally agree, man.
So who are you taking at number 2?
Christian McCaffrey. If he's not there and he goes number 1, I would think about Mahomes. I think I would probably take.
You would think about Mahomes? You'd definitely take Mahomes.
Well, I mean, I would consider.
That sounds like what I was saying.
Yeah, I would still consider Saquon Barkley, even though you're down on him. I still think he's gonna catch like 100 balls, so he's still pretty good.
Maybe, but he's only gonna get about 2 yards every time he does.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
Because they're just always tackling him right at the line just because he doesn't have anybody.
Right. So, do you have a specific strategy that you're kind of aiming for this year in our draft?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go running back because of where I draft 4 in our league. I'll go running back. If for some reason Kamara's gone and Jackson's still there and Mahomes is gone, I might consider going Jackson again. And that's from, like I said, a guy who does not take quarterback twice. But he was so special last year that even if he falls off a little bit, he's still going to be really good. So
they're loaded. They are loaded, and I just don't see him dropping off a cliff. I think he's going to be at least 90% of what he was last year.
Yeah,
he might surprise us and do even better. Who knows?
Yeah. So if I wasn't so high on Kamara, I just don't think Lamar's going to get to me at 4. I would consider, though, if I've got Kamara and Lamar sitting there, that's tough for me. I'd probably go Kamara, and then I'd come back with Dak in the second round because I think Dak's going to be 3rd in quarterback rankings this year. So that's
and there you go. We're not getting Dak. I mean, I knew it because he's been close to us in drafting. Like, he's going to take all the guys I want.
Yeah, you're going to steal the ones that I want. I'm going to steal
them back. I hope so, but I don't know if I do as much as you steal my guys.
You do. Are you kidding me? I spent half the draft going, damn it, Chuck.
Really? Yeah. Well, how come you did so well last year and I did so bad?
Because you just stole the wrong guys.
Exactly.
I just got luckier with mine. So, Chuck, give me your waiver wire process because I think you probably better than any of us pick up guys off the waiver wire. And yeah, I get lucky every now and then. I know you always go with the John Gut, but you pick up some guys off the waiver wire, and I feel like you've got a strategy for your waiver wire.
I'm just looking at opportunity. So well ahead of picking up a guy in the waiver wire, I'm looking at the guys that if they got hurt, who would be the best replacement for them. And not just running backs. I'm talking about wide receivers too. Rashad Perriman was one guy last year I was watching like a hawk because I like his talent. And I'm watching Tampa Bay, and all their receivers are dropping like flies at the end of the year. And I picked up Rashad Perriman in every league because I was just waiting for that moment. And that worked out pretty well. It's all about opportunity. When Jameis Winston is throwing 50 passes every week, he's got to throw it to somebody.
But also at the same time, another advantage that you have, I think it's important to watch the games and be quick to the waiver wire. I think Chuck has that down. He's watching.
He does. He's got an itchy trigger finger.
Yep. As soon as the guy starts going off, you know what? I'm going to give that guy a shot.
So I should let the viewers know that we play with an open waiver wire 24/7, first come, first serve. No waiver wire order bullshit.
It's fantastic.
You're watching the game and you see someone injured, you want to grab the backup, you better go frickin' get them right now. Because if Johnny doesn't get them, I'm getting them.
Yep.
That's right. Or Adam's getting them or somebody's getting them.
Someone's getting them in our league, and I mean quick. Sometimes before they've even determined the severity of the injury, some guy just walks off holding his knee a little bit. Boom, backup's gone already.
Just gets up a little slow, and we're like, nope, let me get that guy.
Then when the guy comes back in the game in the second half, you drop him.
Dropping him, yeah. There's a lot of quick pickup and drops in our league.
So in the league that John and I are playing in this year, there is no fees for transactions. But in a lot of leagues that I play in, they do charge you for those transactions. So you can't be as quick as you normally would. You're dropping $5 a transaction. That could hurt your pocket a little bit.
Yeah, although we've spent some money in the past on those when we used to be in that league. Oh.
Johnny and I don't give a shit. We will spend $100 extra in transactions.
Because we know we're going to get it back. There's ROI on that.
That's right. If we got a chance to win, we're going for it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Now,
throw out something. Sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Throw out something like a waiver wire strategy. I just want to say that you're not just evaluating the guys on the waiver wire. You also have to evaluate the guys on your own team, and you have to decide. You might have to make a harsh decision early on that, you know what, this guy on the waiver wire is going to probably outplay this guy on my team, and even though I liked him in the draft, it's just not working out, or maybe you just like the guy on the waiver wire better. So that's a big part of the evaluation, is looking at your own team as well.
There is. It's a little bit of a Sophie's choice, right? You're like, oh God, do I want to pick this up and lose that guy? And early in the season, I find it's harder to pick people up because you've drafted a team, you're kind of high on that team, and you're excited about your draft picks. And then a guy comes open on the waiver wire, and you're like, ooh, but that's kind of sexy, right? And so you're looking at that, and then you can look at your team, and you're like, okay, which of these yahoos can I get rid of all of a sudden? Now they're not as good on your team, and it's harder early to do that. The other thing I think people forget is looking at their injuries and using that. If you've got, like, we play in a league where we've got injured reserve. So if we get somebody who's injured, we throw that guy on injured reserve. And if your league says that you can do, even if it's doubtful instead of out, you can still put them on injured reserve. Use that, pick up somebody, and then if they come back, you just drop them if you can't use them. But when you pick them up, you're also stopping someone else from picking them up. So there's some strategy with that as well. Because let's face it, we're out to win, right? I mean, it's at the end of the day, we all want to win. There's a pot at the end, and we'd like that pot. So
yeah, I got a friend named Ted who plays in the other league with me, and he's always saying that he'll pick up guys just so I won't get them.
Right, because he knows you're looking at them.
And he's right, and vice versa. There are times when I'm thinking, hey, Ted's going to get that guy. I'll just pick him up, even if I'm not going to use him, just so I can't get him. So it plays both ways. Yeah,
especially if you've got a guy going on injured reserve. You're like, all right, well, who's the backup I believe in most this week? Or who's somebody I feel like is starting to trend that way that somebody else is also looking at? I'm going to pick that person up just to make sure that they don't.
Yeah, for sure. Vulturing from your friends is the most fun.
That's right. That's why it's so much fun to play in a league with your friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so this year there's the COVID-19 situation, and a lot of leagues are probably drafting on Zoom or just online, whatnot. They're not drafting in person like you're accustomed to. You and I, we used to live in the same area, and so we'd all get together in one draft room, and that was the best of times.
So much fun.
So much smack talk. We have friends that are some of the most funniest guys you've ever met. Do you miss those type of drafts, John?
100%. There's something magical when you're all in the same room. And, for the last couple of years, Chuck and I have been in leagues where we've been spread out. So, he's in California, I'm in Tennessee. We'll have some in Florida and everybody in between. And so you can't quite do it like you used to. But, man, honestly, those were the best years when we would all go into the war room and, pile into where I used to work, and we had a conference room. We'd all go in there. That was back when we were writing the draft picks on the whiteboard and the whole thing, man. And then we'd, you order pizza and drinking beer and just smack talking. And, you don't have to wait for the microphone and to unmute yourself and all that stuff like you do now. So, yeah, I definitely miss that.
It's literally a holiday. Like, you guys used to refer to it as It's better than Christmas for you guys.
It is better than Christmas. I don't give a shit about Christmas.
Chuck would start texting us the day before. He's like, it's Christmas Eve! It's Christmas Eve!
I would.
Oh, we get pumped up, man. That was so much fun.
And I would know, who I was drafting, most of my team already, the day before the draft. I've already mocked it a million times, so I already know who I want. How many times a day do you mock draft when you're prepping for your draft?
When I'm getting ready, I will do one a day for I try not to do more than one a day though, because then I start to get in my own head. But I do like that one a day where I go, okay, I think they're going to take that person, they'll take this person, but I only do that for the first 4 rounds. I won't go a full draft.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never mocked a full draft. I only do it for the first 4 rounds. And then after that, I just want to study, because there's just so much that goes crazy. I mean, so people drafting, a kicker in round 6. It's like, oh, all of a sudden there's people you didn't realize they go early on defense. So I just don't think there's any. I think you can script 1 through 4 pretty closely, and I think after that, you're just guessing. You're just throwing crap on paper and trying to hope that it comes true, but it never does. Name one mock draft you've ever done where you got the same guy in round 6 that you thought you mocked.
It happens every now and then, but you're right. As the
Yeah.
draft gets later on in the draft,
Yeah.
it gets a little screwy.
Yeah, people start to do crazy things. And
Mock drafts, especially if you use a good one where you input your own scoring system and it picks probably the best picks at each pick for the entire draft. Well, people just aren't like that. People tend to they want to get the guy that they want, and they'll draft him early or whatever, and it'll throw a little screwball your way.
Well, and so when you're playing in a league where you know everybody, like I don't like to use the software. I like to go, all right, you know, we'll use Mark Finnegan, for instance. He's not in our league this year, but we played with him for a lot of years. That guy was always going to take a Chicago Bear. At some point, there was a Chicago Bear. It was going to Finnegan. So when I'm mocking, I'm like, this is round 5. It's time for a Bear for Finnegan, right? So once you start to know people and you play a lot, it's easier to mock the way you think they're going to draft. And that's actually way closer than what happens when you draft with a computer. So I don't like drafting with a computer.
Dude, I can't tell you how many times we've mocked and like we get this great pick, like, you know, in whatever round, and then we have to back up and go, there's no way Ballgame's letting this guy get by. We have to back it up.
That's funny.
I never go in with a set philosophy.
I don't either. There's
no way. You have to let the draft come to you, and it's a like living, breathing entity. It changes as it goes, and you don't know where the value is going to be until it's there.
I completely agree, man. You know, I might know who I want for my first pick and have a real good knowledge of where that's going to go. So yeah, you're going to go in with your first couple of picks and go, pretty sure I'm going to get these 2 people. But you're right. Like I said, you know, if Lamar Jackson falls to me at 4 and I've got to choose between him and Kamara, I've got a real choice to make. I don't expect that to happen, but if it does happen, now it's going to change my whole draft, because now so I'm going to have to mock it both ways, going, all right, if I do get Jackson, who am I going to go with running back in second? And so that is one thing I will do. That's why I like to mock the first 4 rounds every day and give me somebody weird screwball as I get towards it. Like, let's say for some reason you lost your mind and Mahomes dropped to me in 4. Of course I would take Mahomes, right? So I might do that. I might, you know, Chuck throws me a curveball and he takes Lamar Jackson, which will never happen over Mahomes. But if he did, now I've got a thing. So
that's why I mock. I honestly, not every day, but when I'm really prepping for a draft within the like last week or so, I will mock draft like 25 times a day, and I'll throw out every scenario because I want to be prepared for anything that happens. I just don't like going into a draft like just going down my list and trying to do it that way. It gives me anxiety. I want to go and just relax and just let it come to me. Like, oh, I've practiced this. I'll just take this guy because I knew I've already done this in a mock draft. So that's the way I look at it.
So I do like that. I won't do 25 drafts a day because I don't do that. But
well, you probably have a life and I don't. So
well, also I like using a little gut feel during the draft too, right? So if somebody comes to me and somebody's available and all of a sudden I go, ooh, I got a good feeling about this guy. I wasn't thinking he would be here. I like having that ability to do that. So I don't like to be so scripted that I don't let something kind of fun come to me and then go, okay, I like that. So that's why I won't do a ton of them. The week before I start doing a mock draft a day, and then I just throw me somebody different in that space, just so that, like you said, it's a little bit of muscle memory, right? That once you've seen it, you go, okay, I remember I did that, and here's what it's probably going to fall to me, so I'm going to go there. So, you know, you use your notes and you do what you do.
What I like to do is when we're doing different scenarios, I usually like to focus the scenarios around, like, let's say we're betting a little too hard on one guy in a certain round. So we go, okay, now we have to plan for a draft where that guy's gone. Now what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So when you come into a draft, John, I'm sure you bring like a rankings sheet, a cheat sheet. Do you tier them? Like, do you have different colors for guys that are kind of grouped together for you? Or do you just go straight down a list?
I go straight down my list. I know who I like at receiver. I know who I like at running back. I know who I like at quarterback and tight end, and even my defenses. So I'll have everybody ranked, and then I'll go, all right, I need a receiver here. So who's on my list? Who's the next guy? Now, where that might change is if I've got a possible combo, and maybe the next guy on my list isn't the combo, but 2 guys down is the combo, I might actually do that. So though, you know, you kind of have a group, like receivers 10 through 15 are basically the same person. So if you get a combo in there, you're not really out, right? So I'll come with them ranked, but I am willing to be flexible within those rankings by a few positions, just if the situation's better.
And that's basically why I tier them. I look and see, hey, there's a group of guys, like say there's 5 guys in the same tier at wide receiver. I know I can probably wait another round because I'm still going to get one of those guys in the next round. I could go elsewhere, you know. So that's why I like to tier them. But it's, you know, everyone does it differently. Johnny Ballgame's won the league several times, so I'm sure your strategy works just fine.
I've done okay.
You've done okay.
I've done okay.
Matter of fact, why don't you just pay for my league fees this year? Because you get my money for how many years now?
Hey, you know what? I know I won this last year, but it had been a couple of years. I took a couple of years, although I was second place the year before. But
honestly, though, John, if you're winning once every 5 years, you're kicking ass. Fantasy football in a 12-man league, especially with good owners like we have, it's really tough to win, dude.
It is tough. It is tough.
You feel that gratification, too, when you win a league that's
oh, God. Yeah, when you're proud of your league and you win that league, there's nothing better.
Nothing better. You don't need a trophy or anything or money.
No. I mean, the money's nice.
But it just feels so good to beat Ted and Johnny Ballgame and Don.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I feel like you accomplished something.
Yeah, Billy Pilgrim and the Mofos and those guys. I mean, you beat Chuck, or you beat the Chuck Wagon, or you know the new names, whatever. You're just like, yeah, that was a good year. That was
and for you viewers out there, these names were thrown out. You're actually going to get a taste of that because I'm going to monitor. I'm going to chronicle our league and show you who we drafted after we draft, and I'm going to each week decide what guys I want to put in my lineup and what I'm thinking. And Johnny Ballgame's going to do some of that as well throughout the season, so it should be kind of fun.
Yeah, I like the idea. I think it'll be fun just for viewers to kind of see the mindset that goes into actually putting your lineup together, because I think that's more agonizing than the draft, frankly. Yeah, every week of going, gosh, which quarterback's going to just go off this week and which isn't, and you know, I've had those years where I've had 2 really good quarterbacks, but they take turns going off, and I'm on the wrong end of that take turn, right? So I'm like, I might play Rivers this week, and of course Dak will go off, and then I'll go, oh shit, well Dak's going to go off this week, and then Rivers goes off. So I've been in those years. Those years are miserable when you just have that kind of luck going. So you got to, you know, sometimes you just got to play a quarterback like 3 weeks in a row to change your luck or something, even if you don't think they're going to win. But
to be honest, I think that's like a luxury you have because of your skill set. Like I think we tend to just, you know, play our hammers and stuff, but I notice you'll go with your gut a lot, and you're right a lot. And in fact, we'll see in your lineup, Ballgame's throwing this guy in there, he's going to go off. That's literally what we say when we see.
I know I've come up with a good one when I get a text from Chuck when he goes, when he's like, are you playing Lamar in the week 1? I know I've got something there, because I know he's like, there's no way that's going to happen, but he knows it's probably going to happen. So
I mean, and Hollywood Brown?
Yeah.
Come on.
I did get a little lucky.
Only Johnny Ballgame would do that. And you know what? That's why you're really good at fantasy football, man. Your gut is usually right. I always try to go with my gut because your first instinct is usually the right one. So I don't like to go look at like football guys or any of the other publications and let them sway me in one way or the other, because they will sway me, and then I'll play their choice, and the other guy will go off. Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Makes me feel sick because I knew.
And the thing is you know, we've been doing this a long time, and we do have really good gut feelings about this stuff just because we've been doing it for a long time. You know when somebody's on a hot streak, you know when a defense that they're playing is really good against that person. So I think it is a little bit of luck, but it's also just the preparation of knowing the players and knowing what's going on and doing this year after year. If you're brand new to this, you're probably not going to win your league the first couple of years, just because, especially if you're playing with experienced people, just because they're going to know situations just a little bit better than you. You might get lucky a few weeks, but it does take some skill. I know people are like, oh, it's all luck. It's not. There's actually some skill to it.
There's a ton of skill to it. I mean, there's no doubt. And when you say we've been doing this a long time, you are not kidding. Literally, we used to pre-internet draft teams, and at the end of the week, we would have to open up the USA Today and count our points for each position.
Yes. And it drove me away from being the commissioner after after one of those years of like, and then everybody calling, going, nah, it's bullshit on those points. No, look at the box score. You know, that was when it was bad to be a commissioner, because it was getting those calls all the time or emails or whatever of like, no way.
Yeah, we actually had to institute where we would play head to head, right?
Yeah.
And your opponent would have to count your points and their points, and you would have to count your points and your opponent's points and verify and make sure that you both come up with the same amount. What a pain in the ass, dude.
Oh, the greatest advent was the electronic scoring system on internets. So, yeah.
And I still say the best one of all of the leagues out there is the My Fantasy League setup. It still gives you the most options. It's the easiest to use, and it does cost money. It's like, I think it's like $80 or $90 for the whole season, but it's totally
so worth it.
If you're a commissioner, I seriously hope that you consider the My Fantasy League format. I know there's a lot of free ones out there, but honestly, they don't compare. They just don't give you the options that My Fantasy League does.
100%. I could not agree more. It's if you want to customize your league, that's the way to go. Now, if you just want to do a cookie cutter league, you can do Yahoo, you can do any of those other leagues.
Yeah.
But you customize your league and you want to have a really competitive league where you can do even just kind of wacky scoring or some side one-offs or whatever you want to do. I think My Fantasy League's the best one I've seen too. So.
And also I want to point out that you really need to know your scoring system. You can go turn on Michael Fabiano or any of those fantasy football experts, and they're going to tell you, wait on a quarterback, wait on a tight end, blah, blah, blah. But if your league scores a shit ton of points at quarterback, why are you going to wait on a quarterback? If you didn't get Lamar Jackson last year, you probably didn't win your league. I think most people that got Lamar won the league, right? Because he was so explosive. Patrick Mahomes is another guy you want to consider picking in the first round if your quarterbacks score a lot of points, because the gap between those two guys and the rest of the field is huge.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I always say get that first 2 or 3 guys in those particular ranges, right? So like quarterbacks or running backs or receivers, wherever you're drafting, go for the top in those 2 groups. But you're right about quarterbacks. I think people underestimate the running points you can get for a quarterback. If your league allows for that, it more than makes up for the fact that they don't throw as much. In fact, for us, those points are more valuable running than they are throwing.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, I wanted to add that quarterbacks also, maybe 10 years ago or so, there was like the top 3 quarterbacks were like the same every single year. The league's kind of caught up. It's more of a passing league, and like it is a little bit more of a rotational thing with top QBs. There might be different top 3 QBs each year. So it is a lot. I just think it's funny how it's kind of swung back towards running backs being important. Like you were talking about earlier, like this year, running backs early is probably a good idea because there are a lot of RBBCs, not a lot of hammers. And at the same time, there's quarterbacks that, might have the same or similar production. But if you can get that guy that does become the number 1, number 2, number 3 quarterback, that's huge.
Yeah, pretty much. I think you would agree with me, Johnny Ballgame. You have to win our leagues. You pretty much have to have a top 5 quarterback. Very rarely does someone win the league that doesn't have a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, the only way you don't is if you have the number 1 running back, the number 1 receiver, and the number 1 defense, and they all go off and never get injured. That's the only way you can win our league without a top 5 quarterback.
So now when you say that and you know that quarterback is that important, why the hell would you wait on a quarterback? That's why I say you got to know your scoring league.
You got to know your scoring. You also have to know your tier, right? So where you draft in the thing, I'm going to get more value if I don't get a Jackson or a Mahomes. At 4, I don't know that any other quarterback is as valuable at number 4, right? So then I got to go hammer running back because I can come back around and get either Dak or Kyler Murray, who I think are both going to have tremendous years, similar to Jackson and Mahomes, because like you just said, it changes, right? Year to year. Lamar Jackson wasn't in the top 5 quarterbacks the year before, and he ended up being number 2 last year or number 1. So yeah, again, it depends on where you draft, but I think you cannot wait on a quarterback if you can get a really great quarterback. You've got to have a quarterback by round 2 in our league. That's just a really great quarterback.
Excellent point, man. Appreciate it. So that's going to do it today. We got This guy's got to catch a flight home off the island. Johnny Ballgame's got to go to sleep because it's getting late in Tennessee. And I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. If you like the Hawaiian shirts we wear, you're welcome to hit the link for Amazon and get yourself one of these dorky-ass Hawaiian shirts. But we appreciate Johnny Ballgame coming on the show. He's going to be a regular, and we love to have him because his knowledge is vast, and he's an expert in fantasy football. So thanks again, Johnny Ballgame.
Thanks for having me, you guys. That was fun. Let's do that more.
All right. We'll see you next weekend. Don't forget, Fantasy Football Island again. Aloha.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.